Something just shifted in the invisible realm and you felt it. Maybe you cannot name it yet. Maybe it showed up as a sudden restlessness at 3 a.m. Maybe it arrived as an unexplainable peace in the middle of chaos. Maybe you noticed it when a song lyric hit different than it ever has before, but your spirit recognized what your mind has not processed yet. You just crossed a threshold, not metaphorically, literally. In the last 48 hours, multiple timelines that have been running parallel to your life just converged into one point. The blessing timeline, the vindication timeline, the breakthrough timeline, the justice timeline. All of them crashed into this present moment and created what I call a divine acceleration window. And chosen one, you have exactly 72 hours from right now to position yourself correctly, because what normally takes years to unfold is about to compress into days. Let me be specific about what I mean by convergence, because this is not spiritual fluff, this is observable reality. There are moments in quantum physics when particles that have been separated suddenly snap back together and release massive energy. That is what just happened in your spiritual life. Every seed you planted, every prayer you whispered, every tear you cried, every boundary you set, every time you chose faith over fear, all of those actions created timelines, futures that were set in motion but had not materialized yet. And for reasons you will understand by the end of this message, those timelines just collapsed into your present reality. Everything you have been waiting for is no longer waiting. It is arriving simultaneously in concentrated form over the next 72 hours. Now, I know what you're thinking. I've heard this before. Someone told me breakthrough was coming and nothing happened. I've been disappointed too many times to get my hopes up again. And I respect that. Cynicism is just hope that got wounded. But stay with me, because what I'm about to show you is not prediction, it is pattern recognition. There are specific markers that show up when convergence is happening. 4 signs that are impossible to miss if you know what you're looking for. And if you're seeing 3 out of 4, you are already in the window. If you're seeing all 4, you are at the epicenter. Before I show you those signs, if something in your chest just confirmed that this message was meant for you, go ahead and tap that like button. Not for me, for you, because that simple action of agreement creates an energetic yes in the spiritual realm, and in convergence moments, your yes matters more than you realize. Sign 1. Unusual numerical patterns showing up everywhere. You keep seeing the same number sequences. Maybe it's 111 or 444, or your birthday numbers or timestamps that catch your eye at the exact same minute multiple days in a row. This is not coincidence. This is the universe trying to get your attention before something major happens. Numbers are the language of frequency. When you keep seeing repeated numbers, it means your frequency is aligning with a specific timeline. And the fact that it's happening now in this season with this intensity means the timeline you're aligning with is the convergence point. The universe is essentially saying, pay attention, something is about to land that you've been asking for. But here's what most people miss. The numbers are not the message. The numbers are the alert system. They are the notification sound before the actual message arrives. So when you see them, don't just acknowledge them and keep scrolling. Stop. Get still. Ask, what am I supposed to notice right now? What is trying to break through? Because in that moment of stillness, the actual download will come. An idea, a name, a decision, a direction. That's the real message. The numbers were just making sure you were paying attention when it arrived. Sign 2. People from your past suddenly resurfacing, old contacts reaching out, former friends sending random messages, people you haven't thought about in years crossing your mind and then showing up in your physical reality days later. This is not nostalgia, this is the universe closing loops. See, you cannot move into a new dimension while you're still energetically tied to old stories, and some of those stories require closure that never happened, a conversation that never finished, an apology that never came, a truth that never got spoken. The universe is bringing those people back not to restart old relationships, but to complete old chapters so you can move forward with nothing unresolved pulling you from behind. Now, sometimes the person resurfaces to give you closure, sometimes they resurface to receive it, and sometimes they resurface just to show you how much you have changed, how different your frequency is now, how what used to trigger you doesn't even register anymore. That contrast is important. It shows you the distance you have traveled, and it confirms that you're not going backwards, you're just tying up loose ends before the acceleration happens. Sign 3. Sudden clarity about things that were confusing for months. Situations that made no sense suddenly make perfect sense. People whose motives were unclear suddenly become transparent. Decisions you were wrestling with suddenly feel obvious. This is divine download. The Holy Spirit is uploading information directly into your consciousness because you're about to need that clarity for what comes next. You cannot step into a new level if you're still confused about the last one. So the universe is giving you the full story, showing you why things happened the way they did, revealing who people really were, connecting dots you didn't even know were related. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. That clarity becomes your new baseline. I've seen this happen to people right before major elevation. They spend months trying to understand why someone betrayed them, or why a door closed, or why they had to walk through a specific wilderness. And then suddenly, in one conversation, or one quiet moment, or one burst of revelation, the entire puzzle clicks together, and they realized it wasn't random, it was surgical. The universe was removing people who would have sabotaged the next level, closing doors that would have kept them comfortable but small, taking them through fire that would forge the exact character they would need for the assignment ahead. That clarity is not just information, it's confirmation, proof that you were never forgotten, you were always being prepared. Sign 4. Intense spiritual warfare followed by sudden peace. If you've been under unusual attack in the last 2 weeks, this is your sign. Attacks on your mind, your emotions, your relationships, your finances, your health, things breaking that shouldn't be breaking, conflicts arising that make no logical sense, anxiety spiking for no clear reason. That was not random, that was strategic. The enemy saw what is about to be released over your life and he panicked. So he threw everything at you hoping one thing would land hard enough to knock you out of position before the convergence happened. But here's what he didn't count on. You didn't break. You bent, but you didn't snap. You got tired, but you didn't quit. And now that the attack failed, watch what happens next. Sudden peace out of nowhere. The chaos that was swirling around you just stops. The storm that was raging just dies down, and you're standing there like, what just happened? What happened is the enemy realized he lost. The attack didn't work. You're still standing. You're still believing. You're still aligned. So he pulled back, not because he gave up, because he knows he's too late. The convergence already started, and there's nothing he can do to stop it. Now, if you just recognized 3 or 4 of those signs in your own life, drop a comment below and just say, convergence. Let me know this is landing for you. Because when chosen ones start declaring convergence in the same season, it amplifies the frequency for everyone in the tribe. Now, let me show you the 3 accelerators. These are actions you can take in the next 72 hours that will speed up the manifestation of everything that is converging. Think of it like this. The convergence is already in motion. You didn't create it. The universe did. But you can either cooperate with it or resist it. You can either accelerate it or slow it down. These 3 accelerators are how you cooperate, how you open the door wider, how you say yes with your actions, not just your words. Accelerator 1. aggressive gratitude. Not the polite thank you for what you already have, aggressive gratitude. Thanking God out loud for things that haven't manifested yet, like they are already done. Thank you for the breakthrough that is already signed in the spiritual realm. Thank you for the relationship that is already assigned. Thank you for the provision that is already in transit. Thank you for the vindication that is already written. This is not positive thinking. This is prophetic declaration. You're calling things that are not as though they are until they are. And when you do that with emotion, with conviction, with specificity, you create a magnetic pull in the spiritual realm that draws those realities into the physical faster. I want you to do this at least 3 times in the next 72 hours. Set a timer, go somewhere private, and spend 5 minutes thanking God for breakthrough that hasn't happened yet, like you're giving a testimony about it after the fact. Describe it in detail. Cry if you need to. Laugh if it makes you feel it more.
My child, you left me speechless. I do not say that lightly, and I do not say it to impress you. I say it because what you just came through and the way you came through it mattered more than you know. I sacrificed everything for you, and yet what you chose to do in silence, without proof, without reward, without knowing the outcome, moved something deeply. Do not skip this. Do not brush past this moment. You have 24 hours before everything changes. Not because I am rushing you, but because awareness has a window, and that window is open right now. This message did not find you by accident. You did not stumble into this randomly. Something in you paused when you could have kept scrolling. Something in you felt wait before you felt understanding. 99% will ignore this and regret it forever. Not because they are punished, but because they will never realize what they walked away from. They will keep asking why things feel the same, why peace feels delayed, why confusion keeps returning. But you were stopped for a reason. You are here because your heart has been prepared to hear what others would dismiss or fear. Listen to me now, not with panic, not with skepticism, but with the quiet seriousness that has been forming inside you through everything you survived. What happens next depends on what you do with these words. Not because I am fragile, not because my love depends on you, but because truth, once offered, must be received to become real in your life. Ignored truth does not disappear, it waits, and waiting truth often returns as pressure later. You left me speechless, not because you were perfect, but because you stayed when leaving would have been easier. You stayed when giving up would have made sense. You stayed when your strength was low and your clarity was thinner than you wanted to admit. You did not announce your endurance. You did not demand recognition. You simply kept going. That kind of faith, that kind of persistence is rare. It does not look impressive to the world, but it carries weight in ways you cannot yet see. I sacrificed everything for you, and you may have heard those words many times before, but this is different. This is not about guilt. This is not about pressure. This is about relationship. I did not sacrifice so you could live afraid of getting it wrong. I sacrificed so you could live aware of how deeply you are held. And when you chose not to walk away during your hardest moments, when you chose not to let bitterness take over, when you chose not to numb yourself into disappearance, it mattered. It told me something about you. It showed me your heart. Do not skip this, because moments like this do not repeat endlessly. Life keeps moving, distractions return quickly, and noise fills the space again. But right now, you are still. Right now, you are listening. Right now, you are open. That openness is not guaranteed tomorrow. That is why I am speaking now. You have 24 hours before everything changes.
Not because something dramatic will fall from the sky, but because understanding changes how you walk. Once you see clearly, you cannot unsee. Once you understand what you survived, you cannot go back to minimizing it. Once truth settles, your choices shift, and those shifts shape everything that comes next. This message did not find you by accident, because accidents do not stop people this way. Accidents do not stir the heart. Accidents do not carry weight. You were stopped because you were ready to stop. And readiness is not about intelligence or spirituality. It is about willingness. Willingness to listen. Willingness to reflect. Willingness to be honest about how close you came and how much it cost you to stay. 99% will ignore this because ignoring feels safer than understanding. Understanding asks you to take your life seriously. It asks you to stop pretending survival was nothing. It asks you to acknowledge that you were protected, preserved, and carried. Many people are not ready for that responsibility. They would rather stay busy than become aware. They would rather scroll than feel. They would rather distract than reflect. But you stayed. It tells me something. Listen to me now, because what happens next depends on whether you receive this or rush past it. Receiving does not mean agreeing with everything immediately. It means allowing truth to sit with you. It means not pushing it away because it feels heavy. It means trusting that what feels serious now will become grounding later. Write, Jesus, guide my every step if you want him to lead your path. You may feel a mix of emotions right now: curiosity, a sense of being seen, maybe even fear that something big is being asked of you. Let me be clear, I am not asking you to perform. I am not asking you to prove yourself. I am asking you to pay attention. Attention is the beginning of wisdom. Attention is how cycles break. Attention is how peace finally catches up to survival. You left me speechless because you did not collapse when pressure tried to break you. You bent, you questioned, you struggled, but you did not disappear. You did not lose your humanity. You did not lose your compassion. You did not lose your sense that life still mattered even when it hurt. That is not common. That is not accidental. That is why I am speaking with urgency now. I sacrificed everything for you so that you would not have to walk through life guessing whether you matter. And yet, even with that sacrifice, I do not force understanding on you. I invite it. Invitation respects your freedom, but invitation is timing, and this is your timing. Do not skip this, not because you are afraid of missing out, but because you deserve to know the truth about yourself. You deserve to know that what you thought was just endurance was actually courage. You deserve to know that what you thought was weakness was actually restraint. You deserve to know that staying was not small. It was everything. This message did not find you by accident. It found you because you are standing at a point where awareness can change your direction. Without awareness, you would keep moving, but something would feel unfinished. With awareness, movement becomes aligned. 99% will ignore this and regret it forever. Not because they will suffer, but because they will never understand why life keeps feeling the same. They will never realize they walked past a moment that could have clarified everything. But you did not walk past. You stopped. You listened. That is why this is serious. Listen to me now. Let these words reach you before you decide what they mean. Let them sit with you before you judge them. What happens next depends on whether you treat this as just another message or as a moment that asked you to be present. You left me speechless with what you endured, and I want you to understand what that truly means. Not speechless in surprise, but in the deep stillness of recognition. I saw every quiet moment you survived, every unseen decision you made when no one was watching, every time you chose to stay when walking away would have felt easier and more reasonable. You did not endure loudly. You did not make a show of your pain. You did not demand understanding or recognition. You simply kept going, in ways that felt small to you but were heavy in cost. You showed restraint when anger would have been justified. You chose silence when defending yourself would have felt satisfactory. You held your integrity when compromise would have made life easier. Those choices were not invisible to me. You did not feel constant closeness or peace, but relationship is not measured by emotion alone. It is measured by presence. You stayed present even when feeling disconnected. You stayed engaged even when clarity was absent. That is not failure.